I'm allowed to say a few words myself now. I was standing outside the main door tonight and I met a number of you coming in, and I was wearing my long green overcoat, which my sister calls my Michael Collins overcoat. I'm always half ducking for fear there'll be a few shots. And I love the way people come over and say hello, and a number of people come over and said tonight, they said, "Well, we're so surprised to see you, Mr. President. We didn't think you were coming." And you know, I met Michael D the other night, as you do, and I said to him, "Mr. President," I said, I said, "I have an apology to make to you." I said, at the end of the presidential election, before the ballot was counted, I was in County Limerick in Castle Troy. Now, I met some Limerick people tonight. Limerick people are lovely, but the reason St. Patrick never got to Cork was the Limerick colt ate his donkey. But I was to talk to the teachers in a primary school, and she sat me in the holla while I was waiting. And the place was covered in election posters. Obviously, the kids were madly interested, and there was a big cardboard ballot box that dominated the holla. Well, the principal came out, and she came over and shook hands and said, "You're very welcome. Do you mind me saying so?" She said, "But you have a look, Michael D, about you." "Well, Mr. President," I said, "please don't take offence. I've also been taken for Robert Redford." Anyway, she was full of excitement and enthusiasm, and she said, "Listen, the children just come on into them." And she said, "Children, you'll never guess who's here." Well, their eyes opened and their jaws dropped. Now, it was the least I could do to carry on. And I said, "I'm delighted to be here and your lovely children." And I had a separate mouth for talking Irish, and it was wonderful. And I went, and they said to me, "Can we come up to the Oris?" I said, "Of course you can. You're all to come up in a bus." And they said, "What have ye?" I said, "We've a Coca-Cola fountain and we've a chocolate tree." And a little fella said, "Have ye a pet?" I said, "We have a pet. We have a chameleon and we can't find him." So having caused utter confusion, I said, "Mr. President, you got 1 million votes. You took Ireland, but I swept Castle Troy." They tell us that laughter and tears come from the one source. And as I said earlier, sometimes when we think of our loved ones, we don't know whether we're laughing or crying. And it doesn't matter, because the memories are there and they affect us deeply. There's a lot of tragedy in the world. You'd almost be afraid to open the newspaper in the morning or turn on the television in the evening for the news. Tragedy in America, tragedy much nearer home in Donegal. There's great darkness around us. And the question we have to ask is, how do we live through darkness? How do we take the darkness and transform it into a light that will carry us through the rest of our lives? And you'll be familiar yourselves from reading news back along the years that the people in Aceh in Indonesia, they saw the wave coming and they ran up into the hills, and when they came back, their boats were in the trees and their furniture was floating in the harbour. And the people of Los Angeles, when the ground stopped moving, stepped out to see all those high buildings and that wonderful overpass all toppled like children's toys on the ground. And in recent history, you remember when the hurricane hit New York and New Jersey, Hurricane Sandy. And you remember the first pictures we saw were of people standing in the space that had been their house and looking around them bewildered. As the little girl said when she was brought out of the creche after 9/11 and she saw the devastation around her, she said, "Where did the world go?" And just as people in Indonesia, people in Los Angeles, people in Donegal, or people here tonight would have asked themselves that question in a time of great tragedy, where did the world go? And it's the first impulse of the Spirit to be shocked. And then we had them speaking on television and saying, why didn't the government fix the levees? Why weren't the dams correct? Why weren't the buildings built to sustain the weight and the tremors? And there's a natural anger in us that moves sideways and that looks for a target like lightning needs a lightning conductor. And when they had done all that, they turned to the rubble of their houses and they began to go back into the ruins to salvage. Now, did they go back for the double door fridge or the 42-inch television or anything like that? And of course the answer is no, they did not. Most of them went back for photographs, for their mother's wedding ring, for little precious items that were of love and of memory and that needed to be salvaged from the wreckage of their lives, because these are the important things. And to me, in the devastation of your reality, you are salvaging. And so it touches me greatly to see the photographs here tonight, and the little messages, and the signs, and the symbols, because these are the things of value. These are the things we put into the foundation of what will become our new normal. People tell you, you go back to normal. Nobody goes back to normal. That normal is over. People tell you, you will recover. You are not sick. Nor will you recover the person who has died, nor will you recover the person you were in relationship with them. That is over. A new relationship is what develops from now on to the end of our days. And sometimes it's hard, frankly, and I'd say many of you would say this in all honesty, that it's hard to get up in the morning yourself. That it's hard to do the little things that need to be done, to see children off to school or whatever it is, to go to work yourself. It's hard, because the busyness of the life can take over, and we can begin to feel guilty because we don't seem to have time to give to our grief. And all I'd say to you is, if you can take even 2 minutes in the day, it can be in the car, it can be in the kitchen, it can be anywhere. If you can glean 2 minutes from the day and make that 2 minutes dedicated to the one you loved, then in that even small space, they can speak to you and you can speak to them. And it's wonderful that 10 years on, we are gathering here tonight in another celebration of light. All around you in the shadows are people who have not your exact experience, but have their own. This is the safest place for you to be, because outside of here, there are people who don't understand, people who don't know what to say to you, people who say the wrong things or avoid you. Here are people of like mind and like heart, people who are being formed and broadened by compassion, to have room in them for the pain and the tears of the person who sits beside them here tonight. In memory of your loved ones and dedicated to your hearts, I would just like to finish by reciting a little poem to you, because in the darkness it's important to widen our vision. There are lights everywhere. Children still smile. A neighbour can still be kindly. There is still beauty in nature all around us. And to keep our hearts open to that reality, that our loved one is speaking through all those media to the deepest part of ourselves. You are in the first light time of morning, the diamond-studded cobweb, trove of dew, the first soft morning song of thrush or robin, a lark new stretching upward to the blue. The sleep that rises like a breath of mist from every newborn day and living thing still finds me in that first light time of morning, remembering. And in the hectic humdrum of the day-to-day, the many cares my heart must dwell upon seem somehow empty, actions done by rote. Now you are gone. And yet, the glancing touch of friendship, the tear I find fresh formed in friendship's eye, all say, my heart, do not give thought to endings. Your heart is nigh. And so, farewell. Farewell on new-found journey, fare far and wide, fare forward without fear. Free spirit, up, away and yonder, your heart is here. God bless you. Thank you.